Damn right. Hey everybody, welcome to the HooperCast episode something. It is I, Hooper, and it is he, Dustin. Hello, Dustin.
Hello, Hooper. Hello, everybody out in cyberspace.
Indeed. Yes, sir. Sorry, that one's supposed to
Has
happen.
anybody said cyberspace in a long time?
No one has said that.
I just brought that back.
I can attest to nobody. Not a one person.
Well, now I'm the first.
Yes. Hi everybody. We are the HooperCast. We are Dustin and Connor, and we're gonna bring you, as soon as Connor starts his clock, we're gonna bring you some premium, some decent content on the film industry, the film world, and one or two little original thoughts. Probably that's the goal. How you been, Dustin? We were off last week, were we? I don't remember.
I don't even remember, man.
Oh,
I think maybe we were.
We definitely recommended some quick picks to people. I know that at the end of the week. So hopefully you guys got out and caught something, whether it was, oh God, what did we recommend? I don't remember. I think I recommended
Darkest
people.
Hour.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, hope it was good, whatever you saw. But yeah, we got some new recommendations this week too, but we want to talk a couple of business items first. So I want to just, well, that doesn't make sense to leave it at that. Let's talk about the Justice League's box office, because you did see the film, Dustin, right?
I did.
So over the weekend, I couldn't help but, notice some of these items about the Justice League coming out. And of course, if you didn't, I think, what was it? Was it this weekend or was it the previous weekend? This is the second weekend. Yeah,
this was the second weekend.
All right. So let's first address my prediction, which did not come to fruition. Which was that I think we said, now, again, this is something I should have researched to get the exact facts on before we started rolling on the show. But I believe I said that Justice League we said that Justice League would be number one its opening weekend, which it was.
Yep.
But I said that on its second weekend, Thor Ragnarok would retake number one from Justice League. Thor being in its fourth weekend, Justice League being its second. Mostly just because I thought it'd be hilarious.
Yes, it would have been hilarious.
It would have been hilarious. It did not happen. Justice League opened to like $98 million, I think.
Yeah.
The opening weekend. Let me see. Look, 17th through 19th. Let me look at that. Justice League. Yeah. $93 million. Thor was at 21 that third weekend of itself. Anyway, but this past weekend. Oh, sorry. That was. I'm sorry. I went to the previous. My bad. This past weekend, over the Thanksgiving holiday, Coco took number one.
Yes.
With 50 million. Justice League fell to number two with 41 million. Thor came in at fourth with 16 million. So I was not correct. It was a little ambitious of me. Still would have been funny.
Would have been hilarious. I think maybe I predicted that Coco would take Justice League.
I think you did. You either said that or Daddy's Home. Pretty sure it was Coco.
I knew. I just kind of figured, like, around Thanksgiving, you have the whole family together. What are you gonna go see? You're gonna go see Coco. You're gonna take the kids and everybody to see that. So I just felt like that would be our number one. Yeah.
Well, you were correct. So Justice League sitting now. I mean, their total gross is, it says 171.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know how often it refreshes, but anyway, yeah. So now that may sound like a lot of money to a lot of you out there, but if you're listening or you know anything about the industry, when your budget is $300 million,
yeah, that's not great.
An opening of under 100 is not what you want to see, and a second weekend gross of less than half of that is not what you want to see. Right. That means that people are not coming back to the theater. They are not seeing it twice, by and large.
It had a 56% decrease.
Yeah.
In its second week.
Yeah, which is actually a higher percentage than its Rotten Tomatoes score, as a matter of fact. Hey!
But I think that is a lower drop than Batman vs. Superman or Suicide Squad. I could be wrong, but I believe so. Interesting.
I mean, and it's weird because we can get into all the other things, right? I mean, right now it's at 41 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's actually come back up since last week. So, there's a lot of things to talk about. We'll unpack this film in a second, but I was hearing some people talking about this, and when I say some people, usually means other critics. So I'm not going to go off on the same jag that they are, which is what Warner Brothers could or should do to fix this DCEU. I mean, because if you haven't noticed, this thing's kind of in chaos. They like to talk about how they give the directors a lot of freedom, but when you do that, there's like no continuity.
Right.
So yeah, Wonder Woman was people thought it was good. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. But you've got Superman's mustache being CG'd out. I'm sure you'll address that. You've got the Flash running weird. I'm sure you'll address that.
Yes.
You've got a Batman who really just seems like he wants to end it all. His contract, that is.
Yes.
And you've got a Wonder Woman who is like, I'm not coming back unless you get rid of Brett Ratner. I'm sure everyone would be okay with that. But it's still happening. So you got two actors who are like, maybe I'll come back. And it's like, no, you're like the team.
Although they did officially drop Brett Ratner and placate.
They did?
Yep, they did.
Okay, good. I don't know why they would have done anything. That would have been super stupid to do that.
Yes, it would have been.
That'd be like a double slap in the face to women.
Right.
It's like not even Wonder Woman can get Brett Ratner removed from Hollywood. But with Suicide Squad and all this other stuff, we've talked endlessly ad nauseum about this universe. I just want to sort of point out that there's still time to fix this. I think you just, I feel like I'm stealing your thunder. I just feel like as an outside observer from all these movies I've seen so far it seems like the biggest, it's one of the things those critics mentioned that I have to think is just my biggest like first step to fixing all this is you got to get rid of Zack Snyder. He seems like the dude whose kind of look and tone and sensibility is kind of, in my opinion, ruining this entire brand. And so we can go into more of that because there are things that I've heard critics speak about that sound right to me. Having not seen the film, like that sounds like a Snyder to Whedon retrofit. So so that was unintentionally vague. Basically, a lot of shots being a lot brighter and more colorful than they were in the original teasers that you saw.
Yes.
So anyway, and just to briefly mention the other side real quick before we dive back into DC, there was also released today a big spread in Variety for, or is it Vanity Fair? Oh, damn it. What was it? Oh, man. I'm sorry. I need to remember which V magazine it is. V for Vanity Fair. There it is. Not for Variety. Vanity Fair had this big spread about Infinity War and Marvel, and they interviewed Kevin Feige, and they had a bunch of photo shoots with the Avengers, and so you got a good first look at a lot of those characters. I don't know if you saw any of the pictures, Dustin.
I did.
You've got a couple notable differences with some of these people. Just I don't know if anyone else cares about this, but you've got Scarlet Witch got a little bit more of the red hair. I like that. I think it looks good. You got Black Widow doesn't have red hair anymore. I guess they were like, well, only one of y'all can have red hair, and so it should be the person with Scarlet, not Scarlet the actress, but Scarlet the Witch should have the red hair, and you can have blonde hair, Scarlet.
Yes.
So Scarlet.
And
Jeremy Renner's got a weird haircut. He's got like a weird mohawk looking thing. Anyway, I don't know if I'm on board with that choice. That seems like
strange.
That seems like a strange DC choice. That was DC level decision making. Anyway, though, you got a really cool interview with Kevin Feige, essentially about like his journey from being like a junior producer for Avi Arad to being the guy who's in charge of all this right now, and I think a big thing with the DCEU is they don't have somebody like him. We've mentioned this before too. They don't have a Kevin Feige. They don't have someone who's in charge and simultaneously cares about the characters. So if you want to check that out, I mean, the whole interview's online. Check out that Vanity Fair article. As a Marvel fan, you know, and just as a fan of movies and comic book films, but personally as a fan of that franchise, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Because it's everything that I like about Kevin Feige. It's everything I want from a studio head, which is what he is. I mean, everything you want from a studio head is basically the idea that, yeah, you know, every director coming in understands the concept of a shared universe, so they know to expect certain parameters, but we really do let them do what they want. Everyone who says they don't let Marvel, they don't let the directors breathe, look at Guardians. I mean, I'm sure Black Panther is going to show something. Look at Ragnarok. I mean, there are plenty of examples of those films. While they might still fit a similar, like, 3-act structure and villain issues, they don't all feel the same. And
right.
So anyway, check out that. And just to sort of contrast with DC, like, I don't know, I just found it interesting that those two things are sort of occurring at the same time. And once again, it always seems like Marvel drops something cool when DC either already has bad news or finally has good news. Every time DC would drop a trailer,
right,
Marvel would come out the next day and be like, "Oh, Spider-Man," and you know, steal their thunder.
Right. And
so I feel like with all these reviews and stuff coming out, they just thought, let's go get a magazine interview.
Right.
Anyway, I'd like to intro your review, Dustin. I know I've been talking a lot. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good.
But I know you're feeling sick, so I think you want to save your voice.
Yes. Thank you.
So, I was hearing it on the news this morning, and this is the way they phrased it in their box office report. This is NBC. They were like, what was it? They said, Justice League fell from its number one spot in favor of Pixar's hit film Coco. Coco taking the number one spot this holiday season, and so they do their little like banter before they change stories after the fact, you know. Right. And she says like and the guy was like, yeah, my family was in town, you know, so we all went to see it, and it was great. And she goes, yeah, and Justice League had a number one spot for a while there, so you know, it's I think we got like cartoons and animation coming out, you know, it's you know, not gonna stand much chance. And I was just like, all right, you two don't know what you're talking about. Right. It didn't hang on for a while. It was number one in its opening weekend, which is the bare minimum. Yeah. It's the bare minimum for like any large film. Be number one at least the first weekend. So it didn't hold on for a while. It held on for 3 days. Number two, cartoons. It's not a cartoon, you idiot. Number three, animation. Animation comes in and it really takes, you know, it really kind of takes that audience. And it's like, is Justice League not filled to the brim with CGI? You think animation is what people were looking and going, animation, not quite enough animation in Justice League. There's still some live action elements. Let's just go watch Coco. Like, right. That's not what it was. They made a choice, and maybe it is slightly different demographics, but they're not entirely different. No. Anyway, I just thought it was dumb.
Nobody
held on for a while.
Rejected Justice League based on the merit of the medium.
Yeah. Anyway, it was just a dumb comment. Like, oh, held on for a while there. Do you even know how long it's been out in theaters? You charlatan. Anyway, so I say that, and I hand the reins to you, Dustin. I would like to know your thoughts on Justice League because I'm sure you have oodles.
I do. So I saw this this weekend and its second weekend, and here's how I'm going to start this review. I'm going to say I didn't hate it.
Yay!
So that's how I'm going to start the review. Now I'm going to sort of unpack it and like qualify my statement. So admittedly, the bar is quite low. Essentially all the film had to do was not actively piss me off while I was watching it, which it managed somehow to do. It didn't do anything that was like egregiously offensive or completely out of character. Now it does do some things that, you know, I would disagree with, but I don't think it's necessarily out of character for the characters in this universe to do some of the things they did. It might be out of character for a Batman in any Batman story to do some of the things Batman does, but this Batman is a little bit of a different story. So I guess here's sort of how I want to approach the review is I didn't hate it and it didn't piss me off, so therefore it's a good movie is probably not the best way to review a film.
Right.
But there's plenty, I think, that kind of is maybe not plenty. There are good things about the film. There are also oodles of bad things about the film. Here's sort of the main thing. The main thing is this feels like a movie that shouldn't have been made this year. It feels like a film that was made when superhero films were way less artistic or meaningful, because there was a time there, and we're still in this time where video game movies, they haven't cracked them yet, and there was a time in film when they hadn't quite cracked the superhero. And sure, you can go back and watch Superman and Superman 2, but by the time Superman 3 and 4 rolls around, it's obvious they have no idea what they're doing. Batman worked, but by the time Batman Returns, Forever, and Robin came around, they had screwed everything up again. And littered in there, you have things like Elektra and Catwoman, and you have random things like Steel and Supergirl, and you have Daredevil, the Ben Affleck version. You have all of these things that are not quite. They never attain a level deeper than like a typical Saturday morning cartoon. They may have some vague appearance of it, but most of the time it's just bad guy, good guy punches bad guy is down. And that's about all there is to it. And really, I think it was probably with Sam Raimi that the superhero film was elevated to the point where we're going to give our characters room to be flawed and room to grow and have an arc. And I feel like this film wanted to do that in the same way that, say, Daredevil probably wanted to do that. But it isn't able to do it because, A, there's a ton of characters, and B, they've edited this thing down to 2 hours, and it could easily be 2.5. It feels like everything moves quickly, and you give the appearance of character arc as opposed to actual evidence of character arc. So I'm gonna try to be as spoiler free as possible, but there's no denying the fact that Superman Returns. Not the film. Brandon Routh is not in this movie, but Superman does come back from the dead. How that happens is ridiculous. And also, sort of the story behind that, however, is interesting. So it's like the film wants you to believe that Batman is the protagonist. The problem is Batman is not a likable or sympathetic or even charismatic character in this film. He is all of those things by nature, even if you're doing an Adam West. But Ben Affleck cannot lift Bruce Wayne out of like this melancholy, completely unlikable jerk to everybody kind of thing. And I'm like, look, Batman is a jerk, maybe, but he's also like his heart's in the right place. He wants to do what's right, but he probably wants to do it himself.
Yeah.
But he's not the way he was sort of shown in the film. Anyway, the point is, you've got all of this going on, and none of the characters really have room to breathe or to grow because, like I said, they're making you think that Batman is the protagonist. The problem is he's not, because there is no protagonist. Halfway through the film, you might think Superman's the protagonist, but he's not because there is no protagonist. And it's not necessarily a fault of Justice League, because that's a hard thing to do with an ensemble anyway, is to have a point of view character. Think about the Avengers, right? The Avengers, as good as it was and way better than this, didn't have necessarily a point of view character. We were kind of jumping from one to the other. The difference is all of those characters we knew and we liked.
Exactly.
with Justice League, we don't know them, we don't like them, there's a glimmer of hope in here. And I said in my Justice League prediction that I think I'll like it more than I thought I will, because I think they'll get Superman right. And here's the truth: they did. There is a course correction here for that character that Henry Cavill, I'm sure, is eating up, because it's finally who he wants to play.
Right.
And he's good at it. The problem is he's got 15 minutes screen time total, and it's not, you never feel that triumphant, like, Return of Superman thing that you should feel. And that really is maybe one of the biggest flaws of the film, which is that the whole thing is without emotional highs and lows. It's very even keeled, and they go through the motions to make you think there's highs and lows. Problem is, there's not highs and lows. You might have a few, like, kind of dolts in the audience who are going to clap when clappy things happen. But there's not an emotional journey here. Everybody does things that are stupid, and none of them are really likable, except for Superman and Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And the movie's not about them at all. And that's the sad thing. Because instead, the majority of screen time is given first to Bruce Wayne, who, like I said, Ben Affleck, I'm not going to make a generalization about whether he can or cannot act. I think he's a better director than an actor, but he certainly can't play Batman. And then you have the second most screen time going to the Flash.
What do you think? I'm sorry, real quick, just about Ben Affleck. Like,
sure.
When he was cast, I never got the feeling that he'd be like a great Batman. I thought he'd be, I thought there were elements that he could bring to the table that would make for a good Batman. But one of the things that he definitely doesn't convey, and I've only seen Batman v Superman, but that's obviously a fair pass at his character. So, he seems like what he lacks as Bruce Wayne or as Batman is actual, like, gravitas and a sense of, like, charisma and just a sense of that he's a threat. Like, obviously I see him punch people and do stuff, and there's that, but Kevin Conroy I know we go back to Kevin Conroy all the time, but you hear that dude speak and you believe that he's the Dark Knight and he's dangerous. And when Batman speaks, I don't get that same feeling. I don't get the feeling that Ben Affleck's a threat. It's right. I'm not sure what it is, but, like, there's just such a shallowness to him. And I know that he's trying to play Batman as, like, this sort of, like, empty shell of a guy because he's been through a lot, but you don't actually portray an empty shell of a guy. Right.
Well, and that's the thing. You hit the nail on the head.
Maybe he's too good of an actor.
Right. Yeah. It's shallow. It's that he, okay, in this scene, Ben, you need to be intimidating. So he puts on a frowny face and talks deeper. And then in this scene, you need to seem a little, a little undecided, a little unsure about what's about to happen. And then he puts on, like, a raised eyebrow look and says things like, well, Superman was a beacon. And I'm like, no, you just spent a whole 3 hours trying to kill him. He wasn't a beacon, and nobody liked him. Like, I don't understand. Like,
it's like, look, dude, you were right. He is dangerous. Like, you were on the right track, except for trying to kill him. But a beacon, like, for aliens,
this Superman was not a beacon.
No.
But that is what is exciting, because now he can be. I'm excited for a Man of Steel 2 or whatever they decide to do, even though that has not been announced, because they can go with, like, a traditional Superman who says things like, don't worry, Miss Lane. Like, it's goofy, but it's like, that's Superman. Whereas before, all he ever did was say, like, I don't know if I want to save this planet. And then his mom's like, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Tell him anything. And then his dad's like, you should let people die instead of reveal yourself.
Yeah. These are all silly things, especially, like, don't have to save the humans. Like, Martha, you know that you are one of these people, right? Like, if he neglects to save the planet, you're going to die. I guess you're cool with that. I don't know.
Exactly.
You and your husband make odd choices and give strange advice.
Yes, they
Pretend
do.
it's an island. No. What? No.
Right. No. How about you just become a valued member of society?
Get a job, sir.
Good Lord. 8-year-old Clark.
There's like a certain element to Superman that I felt like it's just, if you want to approach his character from the very basic thing, he's a gentleman.
Yeah.
Like, forget everything else for a second. Like, just the one word, like, one word character, like chivalrous. That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's a knight in shining armor. He saves the damsel or duke in distress, and he's polite, like, oh, I believe you dropped this purse too. Like, oh, that's funny because I did drop the purse because, I fell off a building. So, but that's funny. I understand you're trying to make light of it. Right. Like, I appreciate the levity. Oh my God, thanks so much. I feel better now. Like, that's Superman.
Right. I mean, it is goofy, but like, there's a reason why the Christopher Reeve films, the first two anyway, kind of hold up and people still go back to them, is because he says things that no one else says. He has a specific way of talking when he's Superman. And it's something like, he saves Lois from a helicopter and he says, I do hope this whole incident hasn't put you off flying. Statistically speaking, it's still the safest way to travel. And it's like nobody else would say that. Like, that's Superman.
He's such a nerd.
Right. And there's like a moment where this robber like tries to hit Superman with a crowbar, and the crowbar starts like vibrating, and Christopher Reeve just looks at him and goes, "Bad vibrations?" And it's like, just it's dumb, but it's so like Superman. And that's what they were finally able to do. I'll give you an example. There's a moment where
it sounds like Ron Burgundy, like, easy, compadre.
Yeah, yes. But so there's a moment where somebody is being attacked by somebody, and one of the heroes, and Superman like flies in and goes, this guy still won't leave you alone, and it's like that's Superman, what I mean? So they're finally able to do that. And they give him some great lines. They give him some great moments, some great gags. It really is great. There's a beautiful moment where I say beautiful. It's a cool moment where throughout the film we see the Flash like going into slow motion, right? Because like it's like bullet time kind of thing, and Flash is still, everything's frozen, and we see this over and over and over. It's a recurring motif. And when Superman finally shows up, the Flash moves and he thinks he's going to get around behind Superman. And then all of a sudden you just see Superman's eyes tracking Flash, like in this bullet time. And that's such a cool image, because that's the moment where Flash realizes he can see me. Yeah. Like, I'm not invisible to him. He sees me. And that's such a good moment. So the film has great moments like that. In that same scene, there's like a couple like police officers near the thing, and they call him Clark over and over, and I'm like,
I heard about this. You had to turn around and be like, "Shh, guys, shut up! Oh my God, what's wrong with you?"
Right,
not cool. Okay, Bruce. Hey, Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne. But that's another thing, is nobody knows Bruce Wayne in this film. He's not a celebrity. Like for real. Like, he goes to this village or whatever, and Aquaman. He's like trying to find Aquaman,
but he's got a beard,
and he talks to everybody, and like nobody recognizes him. Like, okay, I get it. It's like a remote village, whatever. But at the same time, it's like he's Bruce Wayne, and he's out there like
Bruce Wayne is supposed to be one of those people like in a top 5 of like recognizable. He's not even, he's a celebrity because he's so large in that industry. That's like Steve Jobs. Like, people knew what Steve Jobs looked like. Who you don't know anything about computers, but you know who Bill Gates is.
Right, you can recognize him.
Bill Gates walks into a fishing village, and it sounds like a priest and a rabbi joke, but he walks into the fishing village, like, oh, Bill Gates.
Right, exactly. Somebody would know something somewhere. And it's stuff like that I'm just like, why can Bruce just walk around and nobody does anything? Like, nobody says anything. So, it's little things like that, that add up and just kind of make it feel like there wasn't a whole lot of thought put into this. But I think you can tell for the most part what is a Zack Snyder moment and what is a Joss Whedon moment. I do think they gel better than people are giving them credit for.
Yeah.
You can tell. I think someone like us would be able to tell.
Yeah.
General public isn't going to be able to tell. All they're going to be able to tell is like, oh, I get it. The Flash is supposed to be funny, but he's actually kind of creepy because Ezra Miller is the scariest dude I've ever. Like, no, for real. Like, if I met Ezra Miller in an alley, I would legitimately poop myself.
I would run. No pun intended.
He looks like a rapist.
He looks like a lizard man.
He does.
He looks like he would stick out his tongue and he'd be like, I can smell you.
But look, I mean, gosh, I feel like the weird thing about it is it's got these cool moments, these cool scenes, these cool things, intermixed with really dumb, forgettable stuff. And the majority of it is dumb, forgettable stuff. Mm-hmm. But you have, so let me talk just very briefly about the villain, Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf is not the villain that I would have chosen because even me as a DC fan, I didn't know who he was. Like, I knew his name, but I didn't know anything about him.
Didn't he sing Born to Be Wild?
Yes, pretty much.
He did.
And Magic Carpet Ride. Yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
But he...
you picture him with a guitar?
I know.
On a magic carpet ride. You don't know what...
We can find... But...
Come on, be Superman on a magic carpet.
All right. Here's where I'm gonna. I'm
so sorry, Dustin. I've derailed your dream.
No. You're fine. This is where I'm gonna be weird, right? So the villain is every bit as one-dimensional and nonsensical as most Marvel villains that I complain about. It's like, hey, I'm a villain. Why are you a villain? Because I'm a villain. Mm-hmm. Like, that's it. And it's like, well, what do you want to do? I want to destroy things. Why? So that they're destroyed. I don't understand why you don't get this.
If there's less things, then I can control those things. But if there's too many things, I can't control all the things.
Correct. Except I can because I'm super powerful. Duh.
My capabilities are limited.
Right. But so here's where I try not to, let my DC bias show. I would give Steppenwolf more of a pass than someone like Malekith over on the Marvel side, or any of the, even Whiplash, because here's why. Steppenwolf, though he's one note, though he's one dimensional, though there's nothing about him that makes him a memorable villain at all, he's at least on screen a lot. Mm-hmm. And when he's on screen, he's doing evil things. And so by the time you get to the final, showdown, all right, I've got a good primer on what he can do, on how he does it. And, even if I don't have any sort of psychological insight into why he's doing this, I don't know his motives. I do know that he's capable of destroying a lot of things. And so I give it more of a pass because, like, Malekith, by the time that final showdown came around, I wasn't even sure. Like, I don't remember much about Dark World, but I don't even think we'd seen Malekith really fight or do anything. So it was hard going into the finale saying like, oh, he's going to really mess up Thor. Because I had no point of reference.
There's no demonstration of his abilities. He's just, he's bad because he's bad. He doesn't talk a lot and he looks bad, but you never saw him like fight somebody skilled and go, oh, damn, like that. Whoa.
Right, exactly. And that's where someone like Hela gets, like, I know you didn't like Hela and I liked Hela more. And that was because for me, like, you get demonstration and she's bad. Like,
well, the thing about Hela, like, I didn't, it's not that I didn't like her. I mean, I didn't think there was much to her. There's parts where that felt stock, but what they do accomplish with Hela in Ragnarok is they have someone chewing the scenery and and being interesting in general.
Yeah.
Like she had a clear motivation. It's not like, everything she did made sense. It was just sort of like, okay, so, well, we can talk about this film now because it's 4 weeks out, but
Yeah.
oh, so, she's his sibling and, but she had a purpose that she had a goal that wasn't entirely off. It was essentially to expose Asgard's sins in a way, which you can't just say, nope, there's no sins, la la la. Like, okay, maybe there are legitimate things she's going to reveal. So I maybe I gave the wrong impression in that review that I didn't like Hela. I just thought that there were certain elements to her that felt stock. But when you sit back and think about it, it's like, I don't know, that's an interesting villain. It's definitely not run of the mill,
Right. Well, I mean, look, she's one note. She's also like, why are you evil? Because I'm evil. But at the same time, like there wasn't much of a, they could have harped on the fact like I'm evil now because of what Odin did to me then, banishing me and all that. But the fact remains, like, she was evil before that. So her reason for being evil, I guess, is just greed, and she wants to be the ruler of all things. But again, it's kind of a one note kind of thing. But again, as long as I can see her do things and then get, a little bit tense in the finale, knowing that this person is capable of a lot.
Yep.
I can give it more of a pass. And it's the same with like Whiplash, right? Whiplash. You don't see him very much. When you do see him, he doesn't really do much. So by the time the final showdown with Whiplash happens, which was not the climax of the film, it didn't even really matter, And so I don't think it was the climax. I thought wasn't the climax like all the like Justin Hammer things.
Yeah, he comes in after that and attempts to mop up.
Yeah. So again, it's like, if I can see the villain do villainy things, then I can give it a pass if the villain is one note. And, but that does not make it a good movie. That just I'll give the villain a pass. The next thing is, like, you have to show me a hero who needs to overcome this. And the best superhero stories exemplify, the hero's weakness in the villain. So if you look at like Batman Begins, right, the whole thing is a journey of overcoming fear. So by the time Scarecrow rolls around, he's sort of a manifestation of Bruce's inner struggle. And then to another degree, Ra's al Ghul is the same because he uses the fear toxin. It's a manifestation of the protagonist's weakness. And then, look at The Dark Knight and how the Joker is a manifestation of chaos, something that Bruce is struggling to prevent chaos from rising, right? So and that's not just in Gotham City, but in his own soul even. And especially after the death of the girl that he loves, it's this cynicism that the Joker, could he become the Joker, kind of thing. And so one push, Joker says, right? All it takes is one push.
Yep.
And so the hero kind of his flaws are manifest by the villain. So likewise, Thor Ragnarok doesn't really do that. And Steppenwolf does it even less. Partially because it's an ensemble film. So which character is he going to be the embodiment of their weakness? And then you have to have a point of view character, which can work if you decide that there's a point of view character. But there really isn't here. They lost some opportunity at some good world building. You have someone like J.K. Simmons playing Jim Gordon, and he's in it for all of 5 minutes total.
Yeah.
And you have Diane Lane coming back, but she's in it for even less than 5 minutes. So Amy Adams is there, and she does basically nothing. And so it's like you have Jeremy Irons gets the shortest end of the stick because all he does is wave as Bruce leaves the Batcave. And so, it's just a sad state of affairs over there because you've got all these characters, you got all these things, and it could be so great. J.K. Simmons is amazing. I have no doubt he'd make an amazing Jim Gordon. And then, it just feels so broken. It just feels like it's pieces, some of which are good, some of which are dumb, that are just cobbled together and create sort of a forgettable thing. There's a few scenes that I think people will remember, but in 5 years, no one's going to be talking about it the way I'm talking about. I've talked about Thor, I've talked about Dark Knight, I've talked about Batman and Superman the movie, I've talked about all of these things, but no one's going to be talking about Justice League in 5 years. And that's
Ouch.
that's sort of the biggest problem of the film is it doesn't give me anything that's interesting enough to talk about. And yeah, I don't know.
It seems like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sure yours was more related.
No, well, no, I just, it seems like, it seems like the film, I feel, so I liked Batman v Superman better than I was expecting I would, based on everyone's reviews, yours, other people's, like everything I heard. And I still came out of that going, I don't know, I'm probably on the top end of a lot of these reviews, but I could just have been particularly focused that those 2 or 3 evenings I watched it and able to follow the plot better. So who knows? So I feel optimistic about watching this because I feel like it'll be good enough for me. It should be established that I have a low bar. It doesn't take much to satisfy me with popcorn fare like this.
Right.
It's just, I just want to know what I'm getting going in. If I know that I'm getting something that has lots of problems, but is ultimately enjoyable, then at least I know to go, okay, so the bar is enjoyable. The bar is not an artistic and continuity laced masterpiece, with incredible character arcs, a very deep and emotional theme, and, and some surprising twists and turns. If I just know, hey, you'll enjoy the action and you won't be too offended by the gaffes, then then that's fine, and that's not why I like the Marvel films so much. They exceed my expectations and then they add things to it. So I'm mostly okay with lots of comic book films just simply because they hit the bare minimum of entertaining me and not pissing me off. Like you said, like it was, and so that usually earns my grade of, I'm starting to develop a rating system. It's not ironclad, but the first phrase, like my mid grade for films, like if it's a 1 through 5 star, I think my 3 is the phrase, it's fine. Like, it's not great. It's not horrible. It's fine. Like I've got no notes. It did what it seemed like it set out to do. Maybe it thought it was a better film than, maybe it had a higher opinion of itself or higher expectations for itself, but I got what I perceived I would get, which was fine. And that's what it sounds like this is.
It is
ultimately.
It's fine. It's good. It's not great.
Sure.
And sometimes it's good despite itself.
But the thing is, the bar. Let's remind ourselves, the market bar for this film isn't low. Good. Well, I'll say so. Because it's DC, it's low. But if you want to be competitive in the shared universe market, the bar isn't good. The bar is great. The bar was good when Avengers came out. Avengers was great. So now the bar is great. This film is just good. So it is below, it sounds like, but that's really because the first people out the door did such a great job. Now, is it Marvel? Is it DC's fault? It's a mixture of the bar is high because someone else, the only other person to do it did a better job.
Right.
But the only other person to do it did a better job. And I guarantee their mark wasn't to be second to Marvel. It was to smash it. Right.
And that's where it's so strange to me. Admittedly, my bar for superhero movies and entertainment in general is fairly low. I mean, for instance, before we started this call, I was watching Hey Arnold on Hulu. like I can turn stuff on and just watch it. Like there's no character arc. There's no learning things. It's just a thing that happens. And to that effect, I can watch Batman Forever every once in a while because it's goofy and it's dumb, but if I wanted to be entertained, it'll do it. Batman vs Superman, I can't watch again. I can't get through it. I've tried. I watched it once in theaters, and I bought the Blu-ray on Black Friday last year for like $5, and I thought, you know what, if it's between renting it at Redbox for $1.50 and buying it for $5, I'm just gonna buy it for $5, and I did, and I couldn't get through it again, and that's a problem, and it's because it made me so mad. Like literally every scene just made me angrier and angrier and angrier. And Justice League doesn't do that. There's a few things that I had to check out on. I'll give you one example. At the beginning of the film, they show, a little bit of like each hero in, daily life or whatever. So it's in the trailer. You see like Wonder Woman, like, working at the museum and so stuff like that. But they show the Flash. They show Barry Allen, and he's like signing in at the prison to visit his dad. He has like a gag that isn't funny, as he's signing in, and then he goes to visit his dad. And so what happens is, like, you have this shot of like, Barry on the phone, like talking through the glass to his dad, and like they do the whole hands on the glass kind of thing. And his dad's like, you need to be better, Barry. You gotta, live your life. You can't just sit here and waste your life away trying to, get me out of jail or whatever. And the whole thing, the whole time I'm thinking, I've literally already seen this exact scene with actors I prefer.
Right. Ugh.
And that to me was one of those moments where I was like, I can't watch, like I have to check out. It didn't make me mad, but it just made me a little sad that we were doing the same thing and expecting it to
better results.
Yeah, and it's like, but it's not, because the first result wasn't broken.
Right.
When you see John Wesley Shipp and Grant Gustin, like, it's emotional. You've got episodes to, build up to this whole thing that John Wesley Shipp is, a great father, and, despite the fact that he's in prison, and, is encouraging Barry. He's always the voice of like motivation for Barry, and always kind of bringing him back and saying, you've got to move past me. And then, in this film, it's given to Ezra Miller and Billy Crudup, and I'm just like, it's little things like that too, where it's like, I have already seen this. I don't need to see it again. And I don't know. I feel like I'm just sort of like picking random things now, but I think my original point in saying that was the bar is low, and even in moments like that, like I can just kind of let it go, even though it kind of is frustrating to see this thing play out again, because at the end of the day, it doesn't make me mad. And it's such a weird place to be in with a movie where somebody says, would you recommend the movie? And I'm like, yeah, it didn't make me mad, so sure. But then they say, well, but is it a good movie? And I'm like, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's strange. I guess if you said, like, Dustin, do you recommend the movie? I would say, if you feel like you have to see it in theaters, see a matinee. If you feel like you can wait, then wait. See it for $1.50 at Redbox and let that be it.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing in this that demands to be seen on the big screen. And it could have also been the theater I was seeing it at, but I didn't feel like the sound mix was really all that great. Like, maybe it was just low.
God, I swear that happens every single time, man.
Yeah, so I feel like it's weird because I think sound is such an important part to like bringing you into the film.
Yes.
I don't feel like I ever got brought into the film, and I think it's sound, but it was also, and I don't know if that's sound on the part of the film or part of the projection, but I do know that it is I never found myself in the movie. I found myself watching the movie,
Ugh,
and that's sort of the difference, right? Where you
man,
go into like Guardians Volume 2 and you're in the movie, you're not watching it.
dude, like I feel like this is again a separate discussion, but one of those things is going to push VOD over the top, into people's wallets. Is the
Yeah,
fact that there's so much more control on your home
yeah,
device. Like there's just not some jackass on a projector, half plugging in the cord and half the sounds not
right,
getting through,
right.
I'm sick of that.
I know, me too. But, I mean, look, Hooper, if you're asking me, should you watch it? My
Yeah.
answer is yes,
Yeah.
just because I think you would enjoy it.
Hmm.
If not the movie itself, you would enjoy watching the movie.
Yeah. I think that, I enjoy world building and I do, I enjoy, I am enjoying this new experiment of these shared universes. I mean, we've been sort of enjoying it for the past 10 years,
Mhm.
and I think that when you grow up on any sort of comic book fare or fantasy fare, like for me, it was probably Dragon Ball Z. It was like the first large, like, here's an ensemble of powerful people that are cool and that are in and out of each other's lives and stuff that's going on. Like that was my first sort of foray into superheroes.
Mhm.
So, and again, the whole, not to, this isn't my life story, but like, Spider-Man, all that stuff. Like, so when you get into what I'm interested in seeing, I really enjoy and appreciate well executed shared universe stories. And there are actual comic book fans out there who appreciate it way more than me because they grew up on exactly this sort of storytelling. So I enjoy watching stuff like this because I really get tickled by watching characters interact with each other. I
Yeah.
really do. I enjoy characters that have opposing points. I just enjoy knowing characters and anticipating how they're going to play off each other and seeing it either meet my expectations, like, good, it's validating to know, good, that's how I would have done it too. Or, oh, I didn't think of that, but that's better than what I had thought of. I guess as a writer, like it stimulates that part of my brain where I just go, like when I watch the Avengers, every single conversation between all of them, I was like, oh man, that's perfect. Like that's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. That's
Yeah.
what I would have done. Like that's how real people with these opinions would speak to each other, and that was satisfying. So I'm looking forward to seeing it just in that sense of I want to watch these characters interact. But I
Right.
also don't have high hopes for them to be totally on point with,
With
obviously
your sort of
Aquaman's very different than his, but I didn't care that much about Aquaman anyway. I've heard some people who are like, Aquaman was my favorite character growing up, and I think this is like, your favorite, really? That
right,
guy,
right, right.
you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, and to speak to that point, like, I grew up watching the Bruce Timm Justice League show,
Right.
and it was such a
Super
big part
Friends.
of, yeah, it was just such a big part of what I grew up, watching on Cartoon Network or Kids WB, um, and the idea of the shared universe from the Bruce Timm stuff really was amazing when it happened, because it's like, okay, first of all, you got Batman the animated series, great, and then all of a sudden Superman's there, and then Superman has an episode with Flash, and then Superman has an episode with Green Lantern, and Superman has an episode with Aquaman, and they build it, and then by the time you get to Justice League, yeah, the characters are a little bit different in Justice League, just because I feel like they had to be. That by the time you get there, it's like, man, this is really cool because I'm seeing all of these characters interact with one another in cool and interesting ways. Like,
Hmm.
the idea of them saying to Bruce, like, we want you to be a part of the league, and he's like, no, I'm good. And that's such a good interaction, and it's so night and day from this one where Bruce is literally the one starting the Justice League. It's not an invalid interpretation, it's just a different interpretation. And I agree with you, because I think part of the fun of it is just watching these characters kind of interact with one another. And what I think maybe now that you mentioned that, what maybe I did like a lot about the film was the fact that, at least this time around, Batman didn't kill anybody, and Superman was allowed to be Superman, and Wonder Woman is obviously still working, and you're allowing these characters to actually be the characters that I think they are. I mean, regardless of performances, Ben Affleck, you're allowing these characters to be the characters that I remember them being, and I think that's really great. There is the exception with the Flash, where I don't think he was funny, and Cyborg, who's a little more dour than I would like, but
he's been through a lot.
Yeah, but this is true. And he gets a couple of good moments towards the end that feel like Joss like threw him in like, all right, guys, Cyborg needs to be a little lighter here. So there again, it's like the characters are finally allowed, at least to a degree, to be the characters they should be. And that was fun.
So a few items I wanted to address, mostly because I teased them, but quickly because I want to, wrap up the Justice League. Sure. Henry Cavill's mustache, and people know why it was there in the first place, obviously. Yes. So I'm told, I feel like I saw one or two like pirated clips where didn't look too great.
It looks a little better in motion than it does in stills.
Sure.
But it's still noticeable.
Okay.
His upper lip looks a little like floaty or fake.
But you can't even really fault them for that in a way. Like you can because it happened, but it's weird because it's like it happened because your original cut was not great and you needed reshoots. Right. And in another way, it's like, but it's a technical thing. Like when it really comes down to it, you're gonna fault them for technical stuff like that. Like
right at the end of the day, they had to work with what they had to work with.
Right.
So I can't really say like
it wasn't a creative choice.
Yeah, it looked so bad because you're right. It's not a creative choice. This is the hand we've been dealt. He is contractually obligated to keep his mustache, but we need him to play Superman. So we're gonna do some finagling.
I still can't believe that happened. Like Paramount or whoever was like, no, he's not shaving it. And they're like, are you kidding me? Like, no, he's not shaving. Sorry. And Henry Cavill was just sitting there like, I guess I'm not shaving it.
Right. I mean, kudos to Paramount for sticking to their guns and being like, it's just so we hired this guy to have a mustache.
It's so delightfully petty. I love it. Because look, objectively, you could totally have had him wear a prosthetic mustache, but they were just like, nope, not our problem. Sorry.
Right. Well, and my thought is, could you not also have like, I don't know, given him like a thin layer of prosthetics to cover it?
I don't know. I don't know.
As opposed, I mean, I don't know how prosthetics works. I'm not a makeup artist, but
I'm not sure. It's just they spent millions of dollars to paint that thing off his face. It's just if you've seen the set photos or whatever, like it's hilarious. It looks like he's at like an 80s. It looks like an 80s superhero party. He's being like both Superman and the Village People.
Right.
Like Freddie Mercury Superman.
Freddie Mercury Superman.
The other thing I wanted to ask about was, so this is these are just things I was curious about. What in the F is up with Barry Allen's form when he's running? I saw a clip from like it must have been the last shot in the movie where he's like running in slow motion, and his elbows are all over the place. It's like I can't even describe it. Just Google it, everybody.
It's super weird.
Is there a reason he runs like that, or has Ezra Miller just never sprinted ever?
I think probably no one thought of teaching an actor how to physically embody a character. Like I think that's literally what happened. Like they're like, say the words, don't worry about being. Oh my God!
Like I don't know anybody. Look, my first day of like cross country. Nobody ran like that. Yeah. Nobody thought it was like before you're even taught form drills or anything. Nobody goes, I'm going to run like this. And they're just like, their arms are all out like Slender Man. Like they're just like, bobbing and weaving. And it's like, doesn't everyone know just to pump your arms like and keep them like elbows in close to your torso? Like, I guess not. Wherever Ezra Miller, maybe he broke both his arms repeatedly through grade school. And so he just learned to run with like a strange, like, whoa, woo, like wacky wave. He looks like the wacky wave arm flailing inflatable tube man guy.
Yes.
Like it looks so goofy, and that's gonna be distracting. I think.
Yes.
At least for me.
Well, but yes, I mean, truth be told, like I didn't really think about it until after the fact.
Man.
But then again, I don't really pay attention to stuff like that. But it is funny comparing that to Grant Gustin, who actually, like, I don't know, again, if he's run or anything, like, you know, in the past, but at least at some point somebody taught him, like, all right, when you run in slow-mo, like, try to keep it tight. Like, don't go all over the place. Don't spill out. So yeah, no, I agree. But I feel like, again, that's a fault of everybody.
It's Ezra Miller, but no one said, hey, like Zach. No one. I almost said Zach Miller. Isn't that no, it's Zach Morris. Sorry. No one thought to go, hey, come here, dude. Like, okay, nobody runs like this. You understand that, right? Like, no one.
Right.
You look like a fucking idiot. Okay.
Like, do they not have a form coach? Like, I remember watching behind the scenes stuff.
Like, Zack Snyder clearly goes to the gym. Like,
yeah, he should know.
Like, just pull him and be like, hey, man, look, I don't know much about running, but when I turn around and there's
although I do think the scene in question is a Joss Whedon scene, but yes.
Okay, well, I know for a fact Joss Whedon's never sprinted or run in his life.
Right.
Except away from his problems. But I mean, but seriously, like, come on, like, you look at that and go, nah, that works. Like, I don't know. Maybe on the day there were just much bigger problems. It's like, okay, whatever. Sure. He can run however he wants. I don't care. But like, it just looks so goofy. It's just dumb.
It does.
The fastest man alive also runs with the worst form alive. Please.
Yes, correct. Yeah, man, I don't know. There's a lot. Like I said, I remember watching behind the scenes stuff of Superman Returns and like the drills that Brandon Routh went through for like how to walk, how to carry yourself, how to stand, like to embody Superman. Yeah. Like, could they not have like given Ezra like a week's worth of practice?
I guess not. I don't know. Real quick, just a quick answer. Do you think that the best thing for this continuity is for Snyder to not be their guy? Like, I mean, what if they just asked, hey, Joss, like, look, I know you're sort of butthurt about Marvel and everything, but like, we may not be as... Do you think it would be smart for Warner Brothers to basically say, look, Joss, I know you're not like ready to get back in bed with a big studio about, you know, a bunch of series of movies, but we could make the parameters less strict. You know, do you think that they're sort of eyeballing Joss Whedon now and going, you know, this guy could really be an asset to us?
I think maybe. I do think that the world will be better served, the DC world, not the actual world, will be better served if Zack Snyder went away. But I don't know, maybe the world would be too. I don't know. But the DC world would be better if Zack Snyder stayed away. But I also don't know that Joss Whedon is the right man for the job. I feel like I guess my concern is that with using Joss Whedon, it's going to start to feel, at least in dialogue or in tone, like Marvel. And I do think there should be a difference in the approach to these two universes. Not necessarily because they are opposed, because I don't really think they are, but because just you don't want two franchises that kind of feel the same.
Someone put it a good way. I think, oh God, which actor was it? I think it was someone on the Marvel side. It might have been Feige. It might have been one of the directors, but somebody said, look, nobody on either side of this is rooting for the other film to do poorly.
Right. Because
if it does poorly, everyone goes, oh, that's fine. I'm sick of these kind of movies anyway. And the entire brand, like not just DC or Marvel, the whole superhero genre suffers. So what everyone wants everyone to do is to put out good films so the interest in this genre continues.
Correct.
So no one wants no one wants DC films to feel like Marvel films, because then we're already pretty good market saturation for these films, but at least if you can make them feel different from each other, certainly from pole to pole, DC and Marvel, like, within each, maybe they feel the same. The goal would be for different always from every single one of them, period. But at least the two companies different from each other. The best thing for everybody is for them to not have this exact same sensibility. So I see what you're saying there with, like, like maybe not have Joss go straight from helming 2 phases of Marvel to, one phase of DC. I just figured that I don't know. They've got to get somebody,
It's not that he's the wrong man for the job. I think, or it's not that he can't do it. I just think it's not necessarily appropriate.
And I don't know what they could offer him. You'd have to give him unprecedented freedom, and that might not be. And again, like we've already stated, like it's not good for a shared universe to give too much freedom to the directors, because directors are egomaniacs and they want to put their stamp on something and they want total freedom, and you just can't have that when you are essentially an extended version of a television director.
Correct.
No,
I agree. I feel like they do have a good asset on their hands, DC, with Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns produced this film. He also produced Wonder Woman. He is a DC Comics writing kind of legend.
I didn't know that he was actually involved in these, because I remember you and I saying the best thing to do would have been to get Jeff Johns.
Yep.
Because he's already in charge of the CW properties, right?
Correct.
It makes the most sense.
They brought him over. They gave him a new title. I don't remember what his new title is. It's like Chief Creative Officer of Multimedia. I don't know, something. I should probably look it up. But
of multimedia. God, 1998 over here.
No, I don't know what it is.
Of multimedia.
I'm making stuff up. Hold on. Let me figure
the
it out.
World Wide Web.
But he's there. He knows. He's just Chief Creative Officer of DC Comics.
Okay.
So President and Chief Creative Officer.
Oh.
So he is, definitely involved in the movies now, which is great because what you get, I think, with someone that's coming from the comics world to the movies world is that he had to know those characters inside and out, what made them work, what made them tick, what made them resonate with people for so many years. And he himself has been writing for so long for comics that there's no way, like if you said the name Arthur Curry, that he would be like, yeah, I don't have an opinion on Aquaman. But he would. He would absolutely know what to do with Aquaman. And so I think he's their ace in the hole. I think the problem is they're either not letting him do it, or maybe that's not what he wants. Maybe he wants the individual writers and directors to have more freedom, and I could see that. But I think he is their ace in the hole. I think he's what they need. And they just need him to step forward and say, okay, I know these characters and I'm going to shepherd these movies into, something that's more in line with the characters we know and love. And I think I really think he could do an incredible job. He most recently wrote DC Rebirth, which was a great, extended kind of one-shot comic. He's just and it spans the entire DC universe, so he knows every bit and piece. So I really do think he's the one. Kevin Feige, he's great, but he's a producer first. What would set DC apart is that they would have a Feige who's actually a writer first.
Yep.
Yep. And that I think would really, really make a difference if they let him do his thing.
Well, it sounds like people I don't usually not say this, but if you think that I'm someone who says, hey, the Rotten Tomatoes score is gospel, ignore it. Maybe go see this film because you might enjoy yourself. I'm never one for tribal, partisan, brand loyalty, certainly with movies. Unless you are incredibly opposed to the casting of Justice League, I would go. It sounds like you ought to go see it. I mean, if I could afford to and I had time, I probably would have seen it maybe over the last weekend, but probably this weekend.
I mean, if only for the ability just to talk about it and talk knowledgeably about it.
Right. I mean, if you're into this genre, you're not going to care which property it is that you're going to look at. So, yeah, maybe check out Justice League. I mean, as soon as it hits Redbox, I'm there. I mean, I'm interested.
Yeah,
I am interested. I want it to succeed because, for one, I want a competitive market.
Yeah.
But two, I just want a good film.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to see, it breaks my heart to see continuous reboots. I think it's stupid. Yeah. You know, I don't like, it's frustrating. It's like watching, I mean, I have children. You know how many times you watch a kid about to walk and they fall? Like, maybe it's not the most direct analogy, but like, you know, after a while, it's like, oh my God, you know, like as someone who knows how to walk, you're like, okay, just stand up, you know, like you don't blame them. They've never walked before, but it's just, after a while, you just go, man, I feel, you know, kids after a while, I don't know why I'm picking this analogy, but like both my son and my daughter, after a while, they get so frustrated. They can't walk. They're frustrated. They know what they want to do, but their body won't let them do it.
Yeah.
I want that. I don't want that frustration. I hate seeing movies and franchises and stories struggle like that because it's obviously not directly the same, but it's the same spirit, which is you know what you're going for, but you're not achieving it. And maybe you know why you can't get there. Maybe you don't know why, but you're angry about it and you're frustrated. And I'm sitting here on the sidelines going, hey man, I'm rooting for you. I don't know what's wrong either, you know, but you know, this is your battle and you got to do it. That's how I feel.
Yep.
Well, Dustin, do you have time for any one of these other films, or are you about spent for the evening?
I think I'm about spent, maybe.
Okay, so we're gonna push a couple of these reviews to next week. So I got a couple of Netflixy goodies for you guys, but they can wait. Yes. They're nice holiday fare, both of them, in very different ways. Very different ways. Goodness, you know, extremely different films. So yeah, anyway, okay, well, we're gonna wrap it up for tonight, you guys. Yeah, catch us over on Twitter at HooperCast, I think, and at Dustin. Mm-hmm. Is it Dustin_Weldon or just Dustin Weldon?
I think it's just Dustin Weldon.
All right. Well, follow them both. Whoever Dustin_Weldon is, he lucked out. He's gonna get some followers today.
Right. Exactly.
Quick pick. Tune in for that later on in the week. We'll try and get one of those out for you guys and recommend a few things. I will omit these two films that I'm talking about now for the next episode. So, but yeah, those would be good films to watch as well.
Sweet.
Hint, hint. Yeah. Anyway, Dustin, do you have anything else to add?
I'm good.
All right. Well, everybody, good to see you. Good to be listened to by you. And
yes.
Good night.
Good
See
night.
you later.
Good evening. Good luck.